So I know not everyone comes, of course, but. All right. So I'll do this. Oops, wrong button. I always do that. Slideshow. Okay. So welcome. Thanks for joining today. My name is Karen Archibee. I'm an academic planning coordinator in the Division of Extended Learning. And then I work closely with Lisa Brancato, who's here, and then Robin Duger, who I'm not sure was able to join in today, but we work together, the three of us, closely discussing microcredentials on a regular basis. Lisa is at our Syracuse campus, and so she's really driving that discussion there and getting microcredentials established in the classrooms or using the weekends for things like that. And then Robin handles our non-credit or professional development microcredentials. So she assists with that aspect, and I handle the academic side. So just a brief overview, microcredentials have been part of the conversation for quite a while now. I moved into this role in December of 2021, and we've been slowly progressing since then. So one small caveat, I'm working from home, as many of us are, and I have a puppy. So you may hear random noises. It's not me, it's him. So microcredentials, what are they and why are they important? You can see a list here. I won't go through all of them. The biggest thing to know is that microcredentials are more bite-sized than a traditional degree. So what we're finding is that students are looking to, this new generation, as well as adult learners that are returning, they're looking for those small wins, right? They really want to be able to see their progress. And so microcredentials allow them to do that. On the other side, people are also looking to upskill and reskill in their own professional endeavors. So companies are looking to reskill their staff. They're looking to upskill and move with the times and the trends, being very forward thinking with new AI and new techniques that are happening in different fields. They're looking for assistance with that. So those are the big key pieces of microcredentials that I really talk about daily. And of course, Lisa, if you think of anything, feel free to jump in too. But it's a really great opportunity for higher ed to sort of be a little bit more nimble and be able to offer smaller, more bite-sized degrees. They're smaller than a minor, but they can be as fast as a few weeks of a program versus a whole year, which is one of our programs that we currently have with the superintendent development training program. So there's different types. At Oswego, we're really focusing on kind of the areas of the academic and the non-credit. Every college is doing it different. Jill Pippin, the Dean of Extended Learning, Dr. Jill Pippin, her and I actually attended a conference in November all about microcredentials, and to hear how each institution is doing it differently was really astounding because we are all going at microcredentials in different ways. We're really focused on having faculty be our drivers. So some schools are really focusing on having the industry partners be the drivers. We really want to work with the faculty and allow you all to derive and really grow this with us as your co-pilots, if you will. So there's different types. And so we can focus in the non-credit area, which is a little bit more nimble to create and stand up. Academic-based microcredentials would go through faculty governance and be approved through FA, and then the graduate assembly as well. So there's different areas that we would focus in depending on what angle a faculty member or a staff member would want to start with. And so we can help develop that. Lisa, Robin, and I work closely along with Amy Dumas and Jill to help develop these as people are dreaming things up, kind of making them more substantial and really move. So there's different areas that we can focus in. They can be with our current students only. They can be with the community area. So we're working with industry partners, alumni, people that have stopped out. So we can go at things from very different angles, which sort of makes microcredential management tricky because there's all different ways we can develop. So currently what we have, which I presented on this a year ago, and so similar discussions, but we have made some headway. But as you all know, Rome was not built overnight. And so we've developed some microcredentials that are credit. These have been in existence since I came in 2021, but we've been fine-tuning them, figuring things out, recruiting for them. So digital media and communication design, grain testing and analysis, interaction design at the graduate level, and then our superintendent development. So that is the year-long credit-bearing microcredential. Superintendent is also non-credit too. So it depends on the audience and what they're looking for. So there's two ways to do that. Digital media and communication design is open to on-campus students or any of our students, whether they're online, on-campus, Syracuse campus. It's also available to alumni and community members, whereas grain testing and analysis is only for our current students. So little different caveats that we work with the faculty on what they're looking, the parameters they want to set, we work with them on that. So non-credit, you'll see here our EAP, the Innovation Challenge skill out of the School of Business. We have an intercultural and global competency with international education. Our Leadership Oswego County, which we have many staff and faculty that are alumni of, that is actually now a micro-credential as well. So we worked closely with the OBCR, which I'm not sure what the new name is. I can't really remember, but we worked with them to develop several non-credit micro-credentials that would assist the community in workforce development. So that's where we are with that. So let me go back to our slides. So what we've been doing, even though we haven't had a ton of micro-credentials get fully stood up yet, we have a lot of irons in the fire. So we've been developing committees, which may sound small, but we've actually been getting those committees stood up. We are getting meetings on the calendar regularly. So we've been meeting for the last year to really hone in on what we're looking to do, what we want to focus in as an institution, and also as the new president has come in, really meeting the needs and the requests of what he's looking to do in the build. So our committees are as such, and we always invite anyone that wants to come. We've had faculty come to different meetings just to hear what we're talking about, to learn more. And so we have our extended learning team, which is the core team. And then we have our development task force, which is, you'll see here, career services, alumni. This is the idea generation group. So we got together and had a big roundtable discussion on different areas that admissions is looking at and what they're seeing, what data is showing is needed in the state for workforce, where we could generate more applications and entice students to attend in a major, but also earn micro-credentials while they're earning their major and their degree. We have our operational task force, which is working with Sean Moriarty and his crew and registrars and really helping to facilitate and build the back end of things and make sure that when we put a student into a micro-credential, that it's showing up correctly on DegreeWorks, that they're getting the credit that they're due, and things like that. And then we have our advisory council. These are the folks that we work closely with that are really the leaders of campus. So the provost, the deans, chief technology officer. And so we're really just trying to focus in these different areas. But of course, we invite anyone to join. So we've been doing a lot of brainstorming. We've been talking with different departments, both us approaching them. And by us, I mean typically me, Lisa, Robin, sometimes Jill. We'll approach if we see a track or a program, or we're hearing from alumni that there's an interest in an area, to say, hey, you're offering these courses. What do you think? Could we chunk them up and create a micro-credential? We've had other departments come to us and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. I would really like to create some new content or develop something that's an asynchronous model online. Could I do this? You know, so we really are brainstorming. We're running through different ideas with folks and just trying to get the word out, really. Researching a lot of data, finding out what's happening out in the market, what industries are asking for, what other schools are doing. We're looking at where we are geographically and seeing what other institutions are similar in what they're offering and what we could kind of, you know, do here. Why reinvent the wheel? We're also trying to get creative. We're trying to think of ways that we can utilize what we're already doing, whether it's a track or a concentration, or maybe someone has a seminar that they love leading. Well, can we create that as a micro-credential? So we're trying to look and see what we have and then also kind of turn it on its head a little bit. Meeting with departments. We've been fine-tuning forms. So it sounds kind of obtuse, but really the forms are a big part of getting the process through. Having faculty tell us, you know, this doesn't make any sense, or what does this question mean? And then fine tuning that at each occasion. We have a template for our process with needing, what's the word I'm looking for? When we have people that because we have to have 3 letters of recommendation essentially, or testimonials. From industry partners that want this micro-credential. They'd hire people with this micro-credential. They really think we should go for it. And so just even editing that template so we have the right answers to those questions we're asking, that's been really helpful to hear back and get some feedback from folks. So the forums have been a big thing, and also getting more into Curriculog, learning more about it. How can we work with Curriculog? And then also the Campus CE, it's a non-credit platform that we've been talking about, we've been looking at. And so we are, I think we're on our way to working with that. I see a question in the chat. Testimonials. So typically when, and I think that actually might be my next, yes. So when a group of people or a person wants to create a micro-credential, we have a form that we need filled out, which would kind of direct us in an area of knowing what the microcredential is about, what the learning outcomes are, who the audience is, what kind of revenue would this generate, those kinds of questions. And so once we have that, we also need to know from the industry that this is a need. Microcredentials really are focused on skill-based learning. And so what they want to do with microcredentials is really focus in that area. So not so much of a general learning, but more skill-based learning. And so we need testimonials, at least 3 from our industry partners, just saying that this is reputable, this is what we need, this is what we could use in our field. Please go forward and make these microcredentials. So after the packet's completed, which I work with folks, Robin assists as well, depending on which way you want to go. If you want your microcredential to be credit bearing, which would follow typically the traditional timeline of the semester or the summer term, winter term, or if you want it non-credit, which could be different areas as well. So it could be different time frames, different lengths, different skill sets. They would, we would assist folks in doing that. And then we would need the application, the testimonials, and then we would start that process of review. So it moves through a little chain of command between our extended learning folks, the provost, it goes through APC, UUP, so different areas like that. And then it gets up to faculty assembly if it's credit bearing. If it's non-credit bearing, it would go through a slightly different governance process, but ultimately it'd have to be approved by the president, and then we would make it live. So we'd work on building your badge, getting the template up on our Credly website, getting the website updated, and do all that fun stuff. So that's sort of kind of a time frame. And of course, if we wanted to talk more specifically, I'm happy to meet with folks and go through those ideas in more detail. So that is something. So I have another question. Yes.
I was going to point out that Grace had a question in the chat regarding testimonials.
Yes. Are they, the industry partners, also interested in supporting the funding? The affordability and equitable access has also been brought up at University Faculty Senate. So yes, we are open. Of course, with funding, we're talking about ways that we can help fund faculty that want to develop this. The time that it takes to develop a new course or a new micro-credential, we really want to make sure that we're compensating folks. So there is a payment model we've been working on. And then also if a company does want to fund these, as long as it's Oswego created and led. So if you have funding from a partner, I probably should double check with Jill before I announce anything, but I would believe that funding is definitely, I think we'd be happy to have people. I'm looking at Lisa kind of like, I think if a company wanted to fund, I know we've talked about companies paying for a cohort to come through a micro-credential. So if they're willing to pay, as long as it's taught by Oswego.
Right, that's my understanding as well, that
Okay.
there's always that potential to negotiate something with a company or an industry partner to fund that cohort, or however they want to offer that to their employees, or upskilling opportunities.
Yep. And Sandy?
I'm going to try to talk. I'm sorry, I don't have much voice right now. So I've been to multiple micro-credential meetings over the years and sat in with one, even with Jill and some industry people and with other faculty. I think I'm the only faculty on here in this conversation right now, full-time faculty. And I think one of the issues that keeps coming up and nobody will answer is, ideally we could package, let's say 3 courses that already exist, like they did in Schema. And that can become a micro-credential. But at the end of the day, someone has to oversee that it's being taught in a, sequence. It's being taught when it should be taught, that it's going to happen. And so I guess, I'm still, and Karen, you and I've had these conversations like, who's overseeing the buy-in of this from faculty and departments and chairs? If it's courses that are offered already in some kind of sequence and we can just say, yes, that's going to happen, that seems to be the easiest way to do it. But if we're looking at, had been a conversation before with the healthcare industry here in Syracuse doing a DEI microcredential, doing a geriatric psychology or something. But we just never moved forward because that requires certain courses to be offered at a certain time or development, and that might be extra service, or is that part of people's load? So I think, I love the idea, and I'm, probably one of your biggest supporters, but at the end of the day, I never see it taking off because, especially for probably credit bearing. Now, I think that's a little trickier. Now, non-credit bearing sounds great, but again, what's the compensation, especially for faculty? Because again, if somebody can put that and tell us that I'm going to give up an 8-hour Saturday to do something downtown, okay, that'll be, worth my while. So I think those are some of the questions that would be helpful to motivate buy-in from people to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are probably the trickiest parts. And we joke in our core team meeting that a lot of times it's like 4 steps forward, 2 steps back with microcredential development, because every time we get an answer to something and we figure something out, then like 8 more questions come along. And so we've definitely been talking about the compensation piece. Obviously with the holiday, we slowed down, but we do have a core group meeting next week. And so I know that's definitely at the top of our agenda, is getting that figured out and really solidified. I know Jill's been doing some research as to how other institutions are doing that for compensation of creation, implementation, delivering, those types of things. And of course, the question of the load, the rotation. And so that's really where I think there'd be a lot of cross-referencing and a lot of collaboration and communication. So I know we've been in close contact with Jen Knapp and Kelly Rowe about the DMCD offerings and what classes are being offered and where, and the rotation of that. So it's definitely, there's always more questions than answers, but I think we're getting there slowly but surely.
Thank you.
I'll definitely take those back to Jill.
Yeah.
And
I guess my second question, if I can ask, is can you share, are you hearing from industry or from the area what people need? Can you share that with us? Is there a place to look for that?
Yeah, so are you asking me to answer now, or just like to have something to share out?
Yeah, some ideas of what people are looking for in microcredentials or non-credit bearing microcredentials.
Yeah, Lisa, I know you have had a couple of conversations with people.
One of the ones that comes to mind is grant writing. We've talked quite a bit about the potential for a grant writing, either credit bearing or non-credit bearing.
We've definitely had DEI conversations. That's been a big one that's been looked at. In terms of other industry, like we have conversations right now, someone from JMA Wireless reached out and they want to do more HR work. And the thing is lots of people can do lots of things online or LinkedIn, but many people want to work with a brick and mortar school with a rich history that they feel backed by. And so I think that's why people are looking to institutions like ours to help them do this and build for their companies. So of course, then lots of things in the business sector, HR skill sets, things like that, DEI area, grant writing. I know there's been talks about like with more healthcare, different things like that, some more in the nursing field, which of course is a little bit out of our range. Global awareness, like I know with Josh, like people wanting to understand like cultural identities and be very globally minded. So those areas, and a lot of times, a lot of what people are looking for is they just want their staff to be able to work as a team. So like that teamwork aspect, communication, problem solving, things that I think we do really well at Oswego, but it's just a matter of putting that together into a package that we can then offer and say, these are these skills that they're definitely getting from, these learning outcomes. And so I think that's where there's more room for collaboration on that for sure. Just for the sake of time, I want to make sure I just roll through these. So this is what our students get, or anyone that creates or completes the micro credential. So what happens is After a micro-credential is completed, we're made aware either through registrars if they're credit bearing, or if non-credit, then Robin gets a list once they've completed the work. And then we send out an email with this badge. And so the icon can be clicked, and what it shows them then is basically their portfolio of the work. And that's built by myself and the faculty that developed the micro-credential. We go through and pick out all the like hashtags, all the words that will be associated, because then these folks can put them into their digital resumes, their LinkedIn profiles, and then that way an employer can then click on that and see exactly what they've been able to do. So it really does help them market themselves. But it is up to the student to take the badge and do what they will with it, but it will live forever in Credly. And so they can access that. So we let them have it, and then they can do what they want with that. But we create the badge through Marcom. So I know I saw, could you share the slides? Yes, Daniel, I'd be happy to. So that's our contact info. We also have the micro-credential page. You can always just shoot me an email too if you have any more questions, or if anybody wants to chat further. Yes, Josh.
Yeah, thanks very much, Karen. So yeah, we're one of those badges that's been approved, and we're at the point now of trying to implement and get ours is for students, because some of the activities really are student required. So my question now is, how do we let students know about this? You know, like, is there a place that they go to, or as part of registration? We can do our best efforts from our office, but is been thought about tying in the career benefits a student gets, or the grad school benefit that they get, somehow sort of presenting this to students that here are a dozen micro-credentials, or soon 50, that you can do while here, in addition to your degree, that you can stack and put in LinkedIn and so forth.
Yeah, so I think this area is twofold. I know Lisa and Robin and I have worked together. Lisa being an academic planning coordinator like myself, and other advisors I've talked with, when they're looking through degree works or they're looking at their interests, a lot of times it's just awareness. So campus awareness of knowing what's even out there, what's being offered, what students could take advantage of. And I know when Lisa's worked with students for like digital media, communication design, she started to see the sequence. But that's because she's aware of the micro-credential. So I think that's really the big piece. Is I know, coming from more of like a customer service area and admissions for many years, I presented a ton. I'm happy to come into classrooms. I'm happy to come into group meetings, club meetings, anything where we can make that tangible connection to a student to say, hey, this is the person that would work with you and help you get through and make sure you get this micro-credential. I'm happy to do that. So I think, you know, in the spring, my goal was to really start kind of a road show, both Robin and I, on the main campus, to really like come into spaces and talk with folks about their opportunities and what they can access while they're an Oswego student in terms of micro-credentials. So I'm happy to come and chat with people, come into offices. I know we've got some meetings in the works to go and chat with different departments to talk about developing micro-credentials. So I can come to different areas for different angles and talk about different things. But I'm happy to keep the conversation going. Anything else? All right, could you share a link to the slides? Yes. Let me do that really quick, and then hopefully you can access them. So that's the Google Doc. Thank you. I'm here if you want to talk further. Have a good one.
Bye, Karen. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We'll stop the recording, but leave it open until everyone can get the link.